Hello everyone, my name is Adarsh Viju and I'm currently pursuing MBA at Alliance University, Bangalore. In this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the most powerful and practical Excel functions, specifically focusing basic formulas, introducing functions that are widely used in the real-world business scenarios. As an MBA student specializing in areas like finance and data analysis, I have learned that Excel is not just a tool, it's a core skill. Whether you're working in finance, marketing, operations, and even entrepreneurship, understanding Excel functions can significantly improve how you analyze data and make decisions. In this video, I'll be explaining the functions that help in logical decision making, data lookup, and data manipulation. For example, functions like if function help in making conditional decisions. Then there is lookup functions that VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP help in retrieving specific informations from large datasets. And text or data handling functions help in organizing and cleaning raw data. What makes this function powerful is just not their formula, but how they are applied. So instead of me only explaining the definitions, I'll also demonstrate practical examples so you can clearly understand where and why each function is used. The goal of this session is to make these functions simple, intuitive, and easy to apply even if you are a beginner. By the end of the video, you should be able to confidently use functions in your own Excel sheet for academic, professional, or personal use. So let's get started and explore how these Excel functions can turn raw data into meaningful insights. Before we begin, let me give a quick idea of how this session is structured. I'll be introducing each functions one by one, explaining its purpose in a simple way. Then I'll demonstrate how the function works step by step in Excel using sample data. Along with that, I'll also share practical use, like how these functions are used in business situations such as sales analysis, exploring report, and decision making. One important thing is to note is that Excel functions are not going to be used in isolation. In real world scenarios, we often combine multiple functions to solve complex problems. So whenever possible, I'll also show you how different functions can work together to make your analysis more efficient and accurate. Also, while learning Excel, many people tend to memorize formulas. But in my opinion, understanding the logic behind each formula is much more important. Once you understand the logic, you can apply it in different situations without confusion. And finally, I would recommend you to follow along with me your own Excel sheet while watching this video. Practicing alongside will help you understand these concepts much faster and retain them better. So with that, let's dive into the function and start building practical Excel steps step by step. Thank you. Now let's go ahead and understand some of the essential Excel formulas and functions. We are going to attempt these 10 business questions and along the way discover many of the powerful, popular, and really useful Excel functions. So to the problem that we are going to look at these, as you can see, they go from easy to difficult, with these three being more complex ones. So let's go ahead and solve some of them. Along the way, we are going to learn all these essential Excel functions and formulas, as well as concepts using operations like these. Let's go one at a time. Quick note about the data. The data is human resource data of our employees and their gender, department, salaries, and other information. We have been using this data on and off in previous lessons, but if you look at this data is neatly structured in an Excel table with the table name, staff. You can grab a copy of this data file along with these concepts in the video description link below. So our first one is total salary and headcount by department. As we got lots of data, let's say you have got an upcoming HR meeting and you just want to explain to the meeting that we got all of these 6 or 7 departments and how many people work in each department and what is the total salary we pay in these departments. To do this kind of a thing, we are going to add a new sheet. and I'm going to call this one, and in here we want to list all the departments, their head counts and their total salaries. Let's set up the report format like this, like that. Here I want a list of all the departments. For now, what we are going to do is we are going to go to the data table here and copy the entire department values, Control C, and come back here. Right click, paste as values. This will give you all the department, but you can see that departments like business development here are repeated many times. So once the data is there, I can select this entire column and use the data, even remove the duplicates option to remove just all the duplicate department names. For now, I'm just going to select without expanding and just say remove duplicates and click OK. That's going to take out all the duplicate values and leave one per department like that. So here we no longer have those duplicates and we have the department information. They will appear in the order we pasted them. But if you want, you can also sort this data. Next, let's go ahead and figure out how many people work in each department. For this kind of a thing, we want to count in the data all the employees that are in the training department. So essentially we want to look at how many times this word training has appeared in the table here. To do this kind of a thing, we can use the COUNTIF function. So that's the first concept that we are going to learn. We can say COUNTIF. So this function is going to count by applying various conditions. So first option for this is the criteria range, and this is my staff table. So staff square bracket, and we can point to the department column directly like that, comma, and what is the name of the department. Now the name of the department we can write in double quotes like training, but as we already have the values here, it's better to just point to the values there directly in the B3. And when you close bracket, you are going to get the values as 24. To see the department head count of all the others, you have to drag this formula down and you have to get the head count for everybody else. Now here's a pro trick. If you are using Excel 365, you can also, instead of saying B3 as we need the head counts for all these departments, take the B3 out and point to this entire range here. Directly what this does is it's going to count individual departments and automatically show the entire range for you here directly. So see what happens when I hit IN. You're going to get the entire values here. This is called spilling, and it only works in Excel 365 or Excel on the web. So if you're using an older version of the Excel like 2016 or 2012, 13, you will not be able to do this. You have to write one formula and then drag it down. Let's do the same for the total salary this time. We are not interested in counting, rather we want to add up all these values. The salary, the values where the department is training. To do this kind of a thing, we will use a function called SUMIFS. So here is how you can write it. SUMIFS, and this time you need to specify what is the range that you want to sum up. So the range is staff, table, salary, column, and the criteria range is staff, table, department, column, and it is here. And again, if you're using Excel 365, you can just drag the whole thing directly there, and that's going to give you the total salary for each department. Here directly you can select this entire column and apply a currency formatting like that, and so that we can see the values in millions. So for example, training department with 24, the total people salary is 23,000 something, whereas engineering department with only 26 is 2.1 million. Given these two sets of information, you may also want to calculate something like average salary. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. And here you can use the average if function to directly do it against the data. You can also alternatively take this number and divide that with the number to come up with the average here. Let's go ahead and use the average instead. So here I want to get the average salary. So we are going to again say staff table, salary column is what we want to average. Staff table, department is here. And even this formula, you can select multiple values like that, and it's going to tell you what the average is. And this tells you a better story. So for example, here if I can see the training department has a higher average of $83,400 as against something like engineering, which is 81, or marketing, which has 64,000. Before we on to the second concept, let me give you a small challenge. So just as we calculate the total salary and headcount, can you calculate the permanent headcount? Is where in the data table you see that some employees are permanent staff, like all these people here. But we also have other kinds of people in our data. So further down you will find we have got fixed term staff, and even further down there are some temporary staffs. So I don't want all these fixed term people, just the permanent in each department. How could you do that? Give it a try and add as these columns here. And our second business question is, let's say you want to look at all the employees with more than 1 lakh salaries. You can do this in two ways. Is you can use manual filter, and the other is you can also use the filter function. First let's try with the manual filter, and then I'll introduce to the filter function, which we can go in elaborate more in the next example. So here in the data, let's say you're in a hurry and you just want to see every employee with more than 100k salaries. You can apply the filters by pressing Ctrl Shift L on your data, and once the filter are added, you can use this thing here, number filters greater than, then type the salary limit. When you hit enter, you're going to see all these people with more than 100k salary. That is a lot of people in this chocolate company. And here in the status bar, you can also see how many records are found. So for example, 47 out of 260 people have more than 1 lakh salary. Now let's say you don't want to apply the filter, you would want to see this extract in a sheet like this. Here we can use the filter function for that purpose. This function is a new formula added to Excel 365, and it is a really powerful function that can be used to extract subsets of data that meet criteria. So we are going to say filter, and we would like to see the entire staff data. So I'm going to say staff, and then include is where you specify the criteria. So the criteria is a really simple one. Staff table, salary column needs to be more than 1 lakh. So we'll just say greater than, and then write the 1 lakh. And when you close the bracket and hit enter, it's going to give you that filtered list. Here as build range, you can see that it automatically expands to all these columns and rows and shows you all the data. You can double check this by selecting all of this data. I have the same count of 47 values. One problem with the filter function is it only filters the data, it doesn't apply the formatting. So for example, all these here nicely formatted as data, whereas here I can see as numbers representing, because Excel thinks data are numbers, and you can pre-select the entire range, where your filter formula may go and apply data formatting to that, so that automatically when the filter does this thing, it will show you the data formatting. Same for these numbers, you can apply the decimal formatting, and you can apply the currency formatting. Many times when we use this filter, you may want to not just see the data, but also the header information up top. So that what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this entire range, make it bold, fill a color, and now this cell here, I'll just ask Excel to get me the same headers as my staff table. So for this, we are going to say staff table, open bracket, and if you scroll all the way down, you can see that we can also access the header of the table. And for this, you need to use hash header as an option. You can just scroll down and select this, double click, so that Excel writes it for you. Close the square brackets and hit enter, and you are going to get the headers as they were written in the data. when you're looking at, you might think that okay, this is all good, but my extract, I don't need to see all these columns. All I care about is the employee ID, their names. First let's name and everything, department and salary values. And so you don't you don't want everything, you just want a subset of this data. This is where we can combine the filter function and with a different function like the choose columns to select Excel that once the filter has done its job, we would like to see, for an example, column number 1, 2, 3. We don't want to see 4. We want to see 5 and 6. So let's give it a go. So here I have set up area for us. I want to see all the employees with a greater than 1 lakh salary, 100k salary, but just the column 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. So here we're going to say filter staff table salary greater than 100k or 1 lakh. While we are at it, instead of hard coding this number like that, you can also put it as an input cell value. So I'm going to point this cell here, which is F67, where that's what was there, and we are going to fix that in second. And when you hit enter, and initially F67 is blank, it is going to give everything because it thinks greater than 0. Now in this cell here I'm going to type 1 lakh, and you'll see that as soon as I type, I'll get a subset of people, but I can go even higher. So for example, I can go 115 and I will see even fewer people. Now we don't want to see all these columns as I mentioned, we just want to see a subset of the columns. So we will take the filter function and send the chosen columns function, and we are going to learn a new powerful concept called nesting. This is where we take the output of a formula and then paste it to another formula so that you could do more powerful things. So this new function is called choose columns. Choose calls, and we are going to say take this entire filter output, and from this give me column number 1, 2, 3 and 5 and 6. You can comma separate and mention any numbers of the column, and when you hit enter, you are going to get just those columns directly. Again, a quick note of caution, both these functions, choose calls and filter, are only available in the Excel 365 or X on the Excel web if you are using an older version of Excel. Unfortunately, these kinds of formulas are not possible. Now that these are done, you may also want to add a cherry on the top by setting the headers correctly. For this, we are going to do the same thing, and this is we are going to say staff hash headers, and this is going to give you all the headers like you see earlier. But we also don't need all the headers, we only need the headers 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. So we can pass the choosing column to this as well. Choosing columns from the headers 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6, and that's will give you only those headers from the table and that data point, and all this is dynamic. So if I change my requirement, I'll say we want to look at, for example, 1,08,000, and I'm going to see all those employees here.